As you probably already know, patch 9.14 just dropped to the live servers a few days ago. Now, this is one of the biggest patches we have ever seen for top lane specifically in the history of League. I know for me personally, I've been playing this game at a challenger level for 4 or 5 years and I have not seen a patch this massive for top lane. As a result, we're going to do an in-depth tier list on all of the changes and what they mean for you as a player. We're going to be learning today what's best to be picking, banning, blind picking, counter picking, and much more. Remember, if you're wanting more top lane content, make sure to check out our website, gameleap.com. There we have champion-specific courses as well as courses on the 5 fundamental roles, including top lane. Check out the link in the description for a special discount and start learning today. Now, I think it's only right that we start off with the S tier. Here, we're going to be seeing Renekton, Shyvana, Riven, Darius, Jax, Vladimir, and Qiyana. While picks like Qiyana and Vladimir might be a little bit better suited for the mid lane, they are still fantastic in the top lane. Since they are a little bit more situational than the other picks, however, I would classify them as honorary members to the S tier. The raw power of the champions alone are what's putting them in the S tier for the top lane. Now, moving on to our blind pick champions. These are champions that are going to be able to work in about 80% of situations. For these, you're going to be looking at Renekton, Shyvana, and Darius. Now, Renekton and Darius are pretty self-explanatory, and I'm sure you already know that these champions are fantastic in the laning phase. They have good sustain, they have high base stats, and fantastic durability. This allows them to bully other champions out of the lane and take a lot of tower plating gold for yourself. When played correctly, you will be leaving the laning phase with a massive lead on these champions. The only thing that you need to be looking out for when playing these champions is the ranged matchups that they have been historically bad into. These matchups should, however, be significantly more bearable after the top lane ranged nerfs, which is why these champions have been bumped up to the S tier. Now, the final 2 champions in S tier that I want to talk about are Shyvana and Riven, and these 2 champions are in here for specific, unique reasons. Let's talk about Riven first, and this champion is just honestly so good at everything that she does. However, the drawback that comes with Riven is that she does take a little bit longer to learn than most other champions. The time investment here is well worth it, and I would highly recommend picking up Riven as she is very strong in the majority of patches. It is very rare for Riven to receive direct nerfs. She also has the benefit of using multiple runes very well. Now, I know that a lot of you are going to be confused by the Shyvana pick. You're probably thinking, oh my god, Panther, you've absolutely lost it. Shyvana in S tier? And for top lane? What is going on here? Now hold on, just wait a minute, let me explain. At first, I did not want to believe that Shyvana top lane was even viable. However, after talking things over with multiple challenger top laners as well as playing against it myself, I 100% agree that Shyvana is S tier for top lane here. This top lane Shyvana has a very unique build and playstyle that is completely different from jungle Shyvana. You also take completely different runes as well. You take Conqueror for a keystone with either Resolve, Domination, or Inspiration second. The build is going to be Spear of Shojin into Rylai's Crystal Scepter into Twin Shadows and Liandry's. Like I said, it's very weird, but it's something that you just need to try out for yourself just to see how powerful it is. Moving on into the A tier, keep an eye out for picks like Malphite, Tahm Kench, Aatrox, Akali, and Swain. All of these champions received some sort of change or adjustment this patch, so they will be feeling very new, and the trade patterns are going to be different this patch. Aatrox specifically is taking a huge hit this patch, and the only reason that I didn't put him lower than he is because his late game is the only thing that's really affected by this change. His lane phase still should be very dominant, and he should be able to find his way around these nerfs to stay a little bit successful. Tahm Kench has also fit a completely different identity this patch. Before this patch, Tahm Kench was used as a counterpick to bruisers to bully them out of lane. After the patch, however, Tahm Kench is being used to counterpick ranged top laners. The change to Tahm Kench's Grey Health mechanic, paired with Doran's Shield, Revitalize, and Second Wind, make it so that ranged top laners can almost never poke him out of lane. Akali received some massive buffs this patch and will be back in the A tier at least. She's very safe as a blind pick and only really loses to heavy AoE champions like Swain. Speaking of Swain, this should be your go-to Akali counter pick this patch. This is because Swain's ultimate now hits invisible targets, and the AoE on his Q has spread out even further. He will be able to easily damage Akali in her Shroud and be a fantastic counter pick for the ninja. Swain will also be fantastic into many other picks as a ranged top laner, and one of the few ranged mages that are viable in the top lane. Swain should be your go-to magic damage dealer if you're looking for sustained magic damage across your team. Malphite also received a rework this patch, and with that rework he is definitely contesting Tahm Kench for the #1 spot as a tank top laner. He already had fantastic playmaking with his ultimate, but now he also has dueling capabilities, something that he completely lacked before. He should be able to stand toe-to-toe with many bruisers in the top lane now due to the changes to his W. Malphite is my recommended pick into AD heavy comps, whereas Tahm Kench and Mundo are my pick for AP heavy comps. Due to the bug fixes that Ryze received this patch, he's going to be falling down to the A tier. He's still very strong as a champion, he just won't be dealing twice as much damage as he's intended to do occasionally. Moving down to the B tier, here is where your ranged top laners reside. The base stat changes done to these champions paired with the changes done to many other champions in the top lane make it so that ranged top laners just are not going to be as good anymore. While these champions still might be strong in Challenger Elo, for your average player they're just not going to be good enough to stand up to the bruisers and tanks of top lane. On-hit Neeko also looks like it will no longer be played after this patch due to the changes, and it will most likely go to AP Neeko exclusively. This is because a lot of her kiting capability was lost and her base AD was lowered, meaning her early lane phase will be a lot less oppressive. We also have our simple stat check champions in the B tier. While champions like Garen, Tryndamere, Olaf, and Trundle are all very good in the top lane, they just can't stand up to the utility that other picks provide. It's very rare to see a Trundle outduel somebody anymore, Garen just can't stand up to the amount of true damage in the top lane, and Tryndamere just gets kited out more times than not. While these champions are very simple to pick up, oftentimes your time will be better spent practicing other champions like Jax, who is very simple but still very powerful. Speaking of Jax, he is going to be in a fantastic place next patch. This is due to the fact that his ranged counterpicks are all receiving nerfs this patch, and the bruisers that he counters are all receiving buffs. This means that in most games, Jax is going to be playing into favorable matchups, and even if he isn't, those ranged matchups aren't going to be nearly as hard as they were. This is why I have Jax as my #1 pick for you guys this patch. If you haven't already, make sure to pick him up, and if you're struggling with anything Jax related, make sure to check out our guide. Moving our way into the C tier, we have champions like Yasuo, Sylas, and Galio. These are all champions that are just suited for the mid lane and don't work into the current top meta. More times than not, you're just going to be into a terrible matchup top lane if you lock in these champions, and as a result, your laning phase is going to be atrocious. Galio also specifically got gutted this patch, so I would not recommend playing him at all if you can help it. Yasuo, while good in a long lane, just can't stand up to the stats that the other bruisers have, so will oftentimes get pushed out of lane by bullies like Renekton and Jax. Sylas is similar, and after the nerfs against AD champions in the top lane, his ultimate isn't going to be nearly as effective against them. This is why I would only suggest playing these champions if you are playing into another mid lane champion in the top lane. These champions are going to be most successful against mage top laners, so if you see something like Victor locked in top, then definitely go for it. Finally, to wrap things up, we have the D tier. These are champions that I really would not recommend at all for ranked solo queue. While they can be made effective in the highest of elos or just by one-tricking these champions, your average player is not going to see very much success, if any at all, on these champions. This is because these champions either have a very strange playstyle or fill a very weird niche for team comp. For example, Volibear can be very good into matchups like Camille, but why would you play Volibear when you could just play Poppy instead? Other champions like Pantheon and Singe just have a very strange playstyle that's really not worth learning if you don't already play them. You may find some mild success, but specializing in these two champions specifically will not help you with any any other top lane mechanics, as they are completely unique in their playstyle. Every single champion in the D tier also severely suffers from heavy counter picks. Most of these champions will get completely obliterated by the meta. On top of this, they also have a very hard time finding their way into a team comp. While certain champions like Ornn and Singed might fit well into most team comps, other picks like Wukong just don't really have a place. As a result, I would only recommend that one-tricks play these champions in ranked. And if you do want to just try these champions out and get a feel for them, I'd say definitely stick to normals until you have a firm grasp on them. That just about does it for your patch 9.14 top lane tier lists. If you haven't already, make sure to check out our website GameLeap.com. There we have hundreds of videos done by challenger players sorted into a quick and easy to use courses system. We have courses both on the 5 fundamental roles as well as champion specific courses, so if you saw something in this tier list today that you want to learn, make sure to check out our website to see if we have a course on them. Make sure to check the link in the description for a special offer today. As always, I hope you learned something valuable, and I will see you in the next one.